Before the Great Pyramid. Before Khufu. Before everything we think we know about ancient Egypt. There was one man, one visionary who changed human history forever, and we have his face. But here's the problem. His eyes were ripped out. His nose was smashed. Thieves destroyed the evidence. For 46 centuries, no one knew what he truly looked like. The oldest life-size statue of any Egyptian king, mutilated beyond recognition. Until now, using forensic science and ancient evidence, we're about to reveal the real face of Djoser, the first pyramid builder. Most people have never heard his name. They know Khufu and the Great Pyramid. They know Tutankhamun and his golden mask. But Djoser? He's the forgotten revolutionary. 27 centuries before Christ, when the rest of the world was building with mud and wood, this man looked at a flat desert and imagined something impossible. A mountain of stone reaching toward the stars. He didn't just build Egypt's first pyramid, he invented the very idea of a pyramid. And today, we're going to look him in the eyes. Saqqara, Egypt, 1924. French archaeologist Jean-Philippe Lauer is excavating the Step Pyramid complex when his team discovers something extraordinary. A sealed chamber, hidden for over 4,000 years. Inside, staring through two small holes, sits a king. The Serdab, a sealed box with no entrance except two eye holes cut into stone. Behind it, the most ancient life-size statue ever found. For 46 centuries, this stone king had been watching, waiting, guarding the pyramid he built. But what they found wasn't pristine. The eyes that once stared through those holes, ripped out by ancient tomb robbers. The nose that once gave this face life, smashed to pieces. 46 centuries of damage. And yet, enough survived. The cheekbone survived. The brow ridge survived. The distinctive mouth and jaw survived. Even his thin mustache, unusual for Egyptian kings who typically shaved, remained carved in stone. Fragments of paint still cling to the surface. Enough to begin. Today, this statue sits in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. A plaster copy stands in its original position at Saqqara, still watching through those two holes. But a statue is not a face. It's art. It's ideology. It's what a king wanted the gods to see. What did Djoser actually look like? 27 centuries before Christ. Egypt has just been unified. The first two dynasties ruled from simple mud brick palaces. Kings were buried in flat-topped tombs called mastabas. And then, everything changed. A new king took the throne, Netjerikhet, divine of body. We know him as Djoser, a name given by visitors 1,000 years after his death. His father was Khufu, the last king of the second dynasty. His mother was the powerful Queen Nimathap, royal blood, revolutionary vision. Djoser chose a genius as his vizier, Imhotep, architect, physician, priest, the first named architect in human history. Together, they would attempt something no one had ever imagined. They would build in stone, forever, reaching toward heaven itself. The Step Pyramid at Saqqara rose from the sand, 6 massive tiers of limestone, 200 feet into the sky, the first monumental stone structure in human history, visible for miles, a statement of absolute power and absolute genius. But this wasn't just a tomb. The entire complex covered 37 acres. Temples, ceremonial courts, dummy buildings for the afterlife, blue-tiled underground chambers that mimic the king's palace. Djoser would live eternally in a stone replica of his kingdom. The Hebsed festival. Every 30 years, a pharaoh had to prove he was still fit to rule. He ran a ritual race around boundary markers. Relief showed Djoser doing exactly this. Strong, athletic, vital. A king in his prime. Djoser ruled for approximately 19 years. Long enough to complete his revolutionary pyramid. Long enough to send mining expeditions to Sinai. Long enough to be remembered as a god for thousands of years after his death. But what did he look like? Reconstructing Djoser's face is challenging. Unlike later pharaohs, Tutankhamun, Ramesses II, we don't have his mummy. Ancient tomb robbers destroyed it. In 1934, archaeologists found only a mummified left foot in the burial chamber. Maybe his, maybe not. No skull means no CT scan, no DNA analysis, no facial reconstruction from bone structure. Everything we know about Djoser's appearance must come from what he left behind: statues, reliefs, art, and understanding how Old Kingdom artists actually worked. The Ka statue remains our primary source. Despite the damage, crucial features survived: strong, prominent brow ridge, high, wide cheekbones, full lips with a defined mouth, the face of a mature man, perhaps 40 to 50 years old at completion. The nose presents the biggest challenge. It was completely destroyed. But other evidence exists: stelae from the pyramid enclosure, relief panels in the underground chambers. Each shows Djoser from different angles. Researchers have compared them all, finding consistency. The nose appears broad and prominent, typical of indigenous Nile Valley populations. The relief panels show a strong, defined profile. Not the narrow nose of later Greco-Roman art, but an African nose, an Egyptian nose, a third dynasty nose. Skin tone presents another question. Egyptian art used conventions. Men depicted in reddish-brown tones, women in lighter shades. But this wasn't random. It reflected real people living under the North African sun for generations. Warm brown skin, indigenous features. Recent reconstruction projects have emphasized what scholars now acknowledge. Old Kingdom Egyptians had distinctly African features, not the European-looking Egyptians of Hollywood films. Real people, indigenous to Africa. Djoser was an African king building African monuments in Africa. Simple truth. The eyes, perhaps the most important feature of any face. And Djoser's eyes were deliberately stolen. Ancient Egyptian statues often had inlaid eyes. Rock crystal, obsidian, copper, even precious stones. They made statues look alive. They were also valuable. To ancient Egyptians, the eyes weren't decorative. They were magical. The opening of the mouth ceremony gave statues the ability to see, breathe, receive offerings. Without eyes, Djoser's Ka, his spirit double, was blind in the afterlife. Tomb robbers knew this. Based on Old Kingdom conventions and surviving evidence, Djoser's eyes would have been deep set beneath that prominent brow. Almond shaped, dark brown, nearly black, the standard eye color for indigenous Egyptian populations. Watching through those two holes for eternity. We can imagine what those eyes saw through their stone holes: the construction of the first pyramid, the Hebsed races, mining expeditions returning from Sinai, a kingdom unified and flourishing, the very birth of monumental architecture. These eyes witnessed history. And now, after 46 centuries of blindness, we can give Djoser his sight back. Not by replacing stolen jewels in ancient stone, but by reconstructing, for the first time, what the first pyramid builder actually looked like in life. Reconstruction begins with the skull, except we don't have one. So we start with the statue, measuring proportions, mapping the bone structure visible beneath damaged stone. The Ka statue was life-sized for a reason. It was meant to house Djoser forever. Old Kingdom sculptors worked from life. They knew their subjects. Imhotep, the architect, likely supervised this statue's creation. He wanted the gods to recognize his king. The proportions had to be accurate. The face had to be real. Skin and muscle layers follow anatomical standards. Egyptian facial tissue depth measurements help calibrate the reconstruction. Forensic artists use the same techniques for modern criminal cases. The science of faces applies across all of human history. Hair presents another question. Egyptian men typically shaved their heads for hygiene and wore elaborate wigs for ceremony. Beneath Djoser's carved Neem's headdress, he was likely bald, or close cropped. The royal wigs came off in private. His unusual thin mustache survives on the statue. Most pharaohs were clean-shaven. This individual detail might be the key to Djoser's real face. He chose to be depicted differently, a personal statement carved in eternal stone. Age matters. The statue shows a mature man, but the Hebsed reliefs show him running, athletic, vital, strong. We're reconstructing Djoser in his prime. 40 to 45 years old. A king at the height of his powers. Every piece of evidence combined. The surviving cheekbones, the reconstructed nose, the deep-set eyes, the full lips, the unusual mustache, the warm brown skin of the Nile Valley. 46 centuries of mystery. about to become one human face. For 46 centuries, this face was lost. The man who invented pyramids, the king who changed human architecture forever, the visionary who looked at a flat desert and imagined mountains of stone, buried in legend, damaged by thieves, forgotten by history. Pause. Until now. This is Djoser, Netjerikhet, divine of body, the first pyramid builder, a man of the Nile Valley. Indigenous African features, broad nose, full lips, prominent cheekbones, warm brown skin, deep-set eyes that watched a kingdom rise. The face that changed the world forever. Look at him. Really look. This is not a god. This is not a legend. This is a man. A human being who woke up each morning with problems to solve. Who loved. Who worried. Who dreamed of immortality. And who achieved it through stone. Compare the reconstruction to the damaged statue. The cheekbones match. The brow ridge matches. The mouth matches. We've given back what the thieves stole. Eyes to see. A nose to breathe. The first pyramid builder, restored to life, watching us as he watched his pyramid rise. This is the face that imagined pyramids. The face that gave Imhotep his vision. The face that launched 46 centuries of Egyptian architecture. After all this time, we finally know what he looked like. Djoser's face launched an empire of stone. After him, every pharaoh wanted a pyramid. His successors expanded the design, smooth sides, sharper angles, greater heights. Within a century, the Great Pyramid of Giza would rise, all because of this man. 1,000 years after his death, Egyptians still revered him. The Famine Stela tells how Djoser saved Egypt from a 7-year drought by restoring the Temple of Khufu. Legend? Perhaps. But legends only grow around faces worth remembering. His architect, Imhotep, became a god, the only non-royal Egyptian ever fully deified. 2,000 years after Djoser's death, Greeks identified Imhotep with their own god of medicine. The genius who built the pyramid, worshipped across civilizations. Today, the step pyramid still stands. Restoration work continues. Tourists from every nation walk through the colonnade entrance that Djoser walked. They stand in the Hebsed court where he ran. They look up at his mountain of stone. And somewhere in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, his Ka statue sits. Still watching, still waiting. The oldest life-sized statue of any Egyptian king, still guarding memories of the man who invented pyramids. Eyes stolen, nose destroyed, but presence eternal. And now, finally, we can look back at him and know what he truly saw. Djoser didn't just build a tomb, he built a statement. He said, "I was here, I mattered. Remember me." And 46 centuries later, we do. We remember his pyramid. And now, we remember his face. The first pyramid builder, no longer a name in a textbook, no longer a damaged statue in a museum, a real man with a real face. Looking across time, from the very beginning of Egyptian history, directly at us, this is Faces of Time. We use forensic science, historical evidence, and expert analysis to reveal the real faces of history's most legendary figures. Faces you think you know. Faces that have been hidden. Faces that deserve to be seen. If you learned something today, if you now see Djoser differently than you did 16 minutes ago, subscribe, hit the bell. Join us as we reveal the real faces behind history's greatest legends. The truth is always more interesting than myth. Coming soon to Faces of Time, Cleopatra. Everyone thinks they know what she looked like. Hollywood showed us Elizabeth Taylor. But the real Cleopatra was Macedonian Greek. And we have coins, busts, and new genetic evidence that reveals something nobody expected. Subscribe now so you don't miss it. Share this video with someone who loves ancient Egypt. Someone who thinks they know what pharaohs look like. Show them the truth. Show them Djoser, the first pyramid builder, finally revealed after 46 centuries of silence. Drop a comment below. What surprised you most about Djoser's real face? Did you expect him to look like this? And who should we reveal next? Julius Caesar? Alexander the Great? Genghis Khan? Tell us in the comments. Every face tells a story. Every reconstruction reveals something we forgot, something we misunderstood, something we needed to see again with fresh eyes. History isn't just dates and battles. History is people. real people with real faces. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about the truth. Thank you for looking Djoser in the eyes after all these centuries. He built his pyramid to be remembered. Today, we remembered him. That's the real immortality. This is Faces of Time, revealing history one face at a time. Subscribe, share, comment, and we'll see you in the next video when we reveal another face that history forgot. Another legend who deserves to be seen. Another truth waiting to be told. Until then, keep looking at the past. The real past. The human past. Djoser. Netjerikhet. Divine of body. First pyramid builder. Born in the Nile Valley. Ruled for 19 years. Changed human history forever. His face was lost for 46 centuries. And now, he looks at you. Remember him.